Okay, lovelies. Thank you for joining. It's literally just hanging out, doing a bit of painting. You can have a bit of chat. And yeah, see what happens. Yeah. Oh, let me just turn the volume down on this. Cool. So, what have I got tonight? I've got some D&D minis that I need to do. So, I've got a animated suit of armour here that I need to paint. So, let's crack on with that, shall we? I have got a wet palette as well. I'm using the Green Stuff World wet palette, and Citadel paints is my preferred go-to at the moment. So let's just have a look. So this guy being an animated suit of armour, this isn't going to be pretty, it's just going to get slapped on there for now. And I have got, this guy's actually, I have got a suit of armour that came with one of the Mantic sets. I think it was the Gothic Manor, or Haunted Manor, I can't remember what the name of the kit was. And this guy is much bigger. He's actually quite a tall guy. So compared to some of the other 25mm minis, if I just pop her next to it, he's taller. Don't know if you can see that. Much chunkier as well. He's probably getting on for probably the same sort of scale as Astra Militarum, maybe. Do you know, I should have bought biscuits. Maybe some fig rolls for next time. But yeah, this guy, I'm going to get this guy done. And what I want to do is try and do a hobby hangout each week, which is just going to make me paint some figures, spend an hour painting some figures. Yeah, where's my rag? There it is. That's the only problem with the Games Workshop pots, is the paint in the lid around the rim. Real pain in the backside. So yeah, as I say, this guy is just an animated suit of armour. I 3D printed him. Got the STL from Cults 3D. And I have an Elegoo Saturn 3 Ultra. Saturn 3 Ultra? Yeah, I'm pretty certain it's a Saturn 3 Ultra. resin printer, and he came out really well. I've already base coated him with Wraithbone spray. And he's going to get probably a little bit of extra colour. I'm not going to give him any gold, but I've got Rune Lord Brass on standby. So I may very well use some of that. Trying to, because I'm currently part of a campaign, D&D campaign. We play on a Thursday night, so I'm trying to get as many miniatures painted as I can. But the problem is I'm studying at the same time as well, and the amount of learning modules that I have to do has increased, and it's taking up more and more of my time, and I'm finding it a bit difficult to hobby and keep up with videos at the moment. Right, I think that'll do for a first base coat. Nothing special, as I say. Literally lead belcher. I can stay there. Tea. Right, and then I've got this nobleman. I don't know if you can see here. Now, he was a miniature that was with Archon Studios, Dungeons and Lasers Townsfolk set. So he's got some armour that I'm going to just give a second coat to. So, and he's meant to obviously be some sort of lord, I would say. Or you can have him as a villain, you know, take your pick. But he's just going to get a second coat. And then I can start moving on to the other bits and pieces across his body. You've got the sword hilt here as well. So you've got his crossguard, which is going to be metal, and just the entry at the neck of the scabbard as well. So I think I'm going to call it done on the metal there. So just pop into one side. Right, I don't think I've got anything else metal that I need to be doing. One of the characters that I do want to try and get finished is Alice. Alice is a boat captain in our current campaign. And she is based off of Alice from Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass. This is her currently in her current state. Yeah, She is pretty much just a maid. But yeah, I mean, I'm having fun painting her at the moment. So I just need to have a think about some tonal variation in her uniform, as it were. And what I might do, not Frostheart, let's have a look for the Drakenhof Nightshade. Right, that should be okay. I am going to get some of this, just pop it on the wet palette. Let's put that aside. Right, I'm going to need the magnifier, so I'm going to have to bring that in. What I want to do is just run the Drakenhof Nightshade underneath her, or around the lines of where her pinafore and frills meet. Just to give a little bit of shadow and depth. There's a crease there in her arm. And also, I'm just going to run it into the folds of her skirt. Like that. And hopefully I can then just use the lighter blue, add a tiny little bit of white and use that as highlights then. Just also just paint the underskirt so it looks like it's in shadow. But Alice here was captured by the big bad of the campaign, and we've just managed to release her. Okay. I think that will be about as far as I take it with shading the blue of her uniform. Although I might just run a tiny amount underneath the top of her stockings here. Oops. There we go. That'll do, I think, for shading her. I do have this exotic dancer as well. I think I'm going to... She's got some detail work on the bodice of her dress. And I think what I'm going to do is just put the blue wash on so that I can see what I'm working with. Right, blue again. Oh, tiny little blue. So what's everybody been up to this weekend? Yesterday was spent doing my assignments that I had to hand in for my courses. So yeah, I had a really exciting Saturday. Have started to get to grips with videos that I have been missing. I'm starting to get back up to date with the magazine flick throughs. So hopefully we should get all the way up to date in the next 2 months and get back to a system of where I was doing the magazines as they came out, or as close to them coming out as possible. I've got a terrain painting video coming out for the Combat Patrol terrain special offer that we had, which was the old Nackmund terrain, was it? Warzone Nackmund terrain. The Hab blocks and the Auspex Shrine and Comms Tower, and the landing pad, I think, was one of them. So I'm in the process just finishing off that video. Hopefully get that edited up in the next couple of weeks and out. Right, bit of black. I've got a 24-hour Combat Patrol challenge for the Space Marines portion of the Combat Patrol magazine, and I'm kind of hoping to get that out sometime in February. So just got another, just got a bar girl here that I've thrown some base colours onto. I just need to give them the second coats. Yeah, we'll go black boots as well. And I'm in the process of building the Shannon class lifeboat that I did the unboxing for a few months back. So that'll be a build and paint at the same time, with a couple of slight modifications on the paint. Mainly because the cabin, they say to paint the cabin the bright orange that's on the exterior. But when I went through and looked at a couple of videos on the subject itself, it seems that the interior of the cabin is painted black to reduce as much reflection as possible for night rescues. So to reduce as much reflection in the window glass as possible, so that the lights on the consoles and navigation and stuff like that aren't reflected off bright surfaces, making it harder to see out the windows. And yeah, I have to admit that all my bar girls, all my waitresses for taverns in D&D have been painted like French maids. So we've got our barkeep's trousers. These miniatures from Archon Studios are really, really nice. I think this is an Archon Miniatures, Archon Studios miniature. I have got a number of resin miniatures that I bought from Etsy. But there's an awful lot of miniatures in the Townsfolk and the NPC pack. And they're really lovely. You know, the sculpting detail on them is fantastic. And they go together quite well. You do need to obviously just be mindful, because some of them are a little bit, what should we say, odd in the way that they go together. And because you'll have like two halves or something that you'll sandwich together with something else. Very similar to the way GW do a lot of their monopose minis for the launch releases. So if you look at the Indomitus box set and Leviathan box set, the way that they put their Space Marines together, it's a very similar technique that Archon Studios are using. think maybe black gloves and black boots with this guy. What do you reckon? And he's actually got, I'm going to assume that they're quite high, like riding boots or something. So they come up quite high on his leg. For those of us that are old enough to remember, apparently they are making a reboot of Blake's 7, which was a sci-fi show on the BBC with typical BBC, what's the word I'm looking for? Production quality. Late 70s, early 80s. I think it ran until what, 1981, 1982, 1978 or 79 to 1981 or 1982. But it was about basically several escaped prisoners who managed to escape and come across a ship. And then it's their adventures on that ship, the ship being the Liberator. An advanced alien design, so it'll be really interesting to see how they come up with the new designs for that. I'm actually thinking I should not have glued this guy down to his base, because I can't get it at the back of his boots easily. Which is an absolute bugger. And I think it's going to make painting the inside of his cloak an absolute nightmare. Never mind. Right, gloves, black. So he's got, they're more like gauntlets, old style motorcycle riding gauntlets. Than like gloves. But this will be the first coat for these. Let's just have a look. They end there. So that's what we've got so far. Let me see if I can just increase the light from that direction. So let's pop him back. Let's have a look at Alice. What's Alice doing? I need to Reichland Flesh Shade her. That's Biltown Green. Agrax Hair Shade. Marlin Oil. Okay, so Reichland Flesh Shade. tend not to paint eyes and things on faces. I'm rubbish at eyes, like seriously rubbish at eyes. I painted some eyes on Scooby-Doo, and it's like it took me like 10 attempts to even just get something that reasonably passes. So I tend to just let the shade shadow the eye sockets and then leave it at that. And then that's your lot basically. And then I highlight up around that. So, right, that's Alice done. Let's have a look at our animated suit of armour. I think I will put a second coat on him. So, let's go. What do we got? How many? Doesn't say actually. Can I see how many? Just 3. 3 thumbs up. That's nice. 5 people. Welcome to those who have just joined. Say hello. Does anybody else find if they're using the lead belcher from GW, it does tend to really thicken in the pot? As a paint, I use it a lot, but it does tend to, like I say, thicken in the pot. Right. I might paint the scale mail Rune Lord Brass and maybe his pauldrons, or maybe the little rings, the little plates on in front of his shoulders, Rune Lord Brass. Maybe we'll wait and see. Okay, just leave them to dry. More tea. Right, let's have a look. So we have this guy. This is another Dungeons and Lasers Archon Studios miniature. And he's obviously meant to be some sort of nobleman. So I always have trouble thinking of colour schemes for the nobility. Like when you're doing peasants, it's just greys, browns, blacks, you know. But with nobility, you expect them to be slightly more colourful. Oh, actually, I've just seen somebody that I need to. So again, this was another miniature that I printed out from Colts 3D. I think he's supposed to be a barbarian, but again, he's a big guy. But I just want to do his pauldrons and his neck thing there and his hammer with lead belcher. So actually, let's use this one. Okay, the problem, I mean, this is a nice mini, but the render on it is, I don't know if you can see, how the lines, so he hasn't really been blended that well, so they're not smooth. You can see like the lines of the way that he's been created on the model, but not smoothed out really well. But he'll do for like an NPC bad guy sort of thing in D&D. So, as I say, I just want to paint his pauldrons and that thing around his neck and the head of his warhammer. And with a lot of these minis, it's just remembering to get all the little lips on them. I think this pot is on its way out. So here we go. So as I said at the start, I'm going to try and do this each week, same time each week, hopefully, unless, you know, something comes up. And hopefully, all being well, we can get some miniatures done together. You know, if somebody just has this on in the background whilst they're doing their own miniatures, that would be cool. I think there's been some, perhaps I didn't get as much of the resin off because there's a little bit of bleed through, I think, which is making the paint sort of like but hopefully we can get that covered. Right, so that's that for now. So that's that guy done. Yeah, I do wash my brushes, like get my fingers in the paint pot. Don't at me. Right, how's Alice doing? Cool. Anyway, as I was saying, this guy here, another Archon Studios guy, and I mean, it's very mayoral. He's got like a chain link necklace there, big like chunks of metal, kind of similar to what a mayor would wear. So I think that's who this guy's going to be. I think I used Evil Sun Scarlet for his jacket. Have I got Evil Sun Scarlet on the go down here? Yes, I have. Right, there we go. I hate these pots. Right. So, yeah, I gave him a red jacket. Don't ask me why. I just did. Probably kind of like, because you see those town criers quite often like wear the red jackets. And I thought, you know what? That will do. I just got to try and think of, you know, colours that will go with this, because I'm rubbish at picking colours that go. My colour theory, yeah, I mean, we did art at school. Do I know my colour theory? Do I? Heck, no idea whatsoever. I just go with what I like. And if it clashes, then okay. So there we go. Space coat on there. Now, did I see somebody else had red? Right, so this guy. Now, this guy, I think, if I remember rightly, is Archon Studios. Yeah, Archon Studios. He doesn't look... no, actually, tell a lie. This guy was a miniature that I printed, I think. Because I can just see the tiny little divots of where the supports were. They're not so noticeable from a distance, from like looking at it from a couple of feet away, as it is on a table. But close-up scrutiny, you can see it. But it's got this really nice, I don't know if you can see, the really nice like filigree on his robe, his don't know what you call it, poncho maybe. Yeah, so I want to base that and then try and pick that out with a gold. And hopefully not mess it up. So that's what I want to do. Right. So, okay, cool. Right, said Fred. So Alice is somebody I want to get finished tonight. So let's have the, now I use Bugman's Glow, and quite often I will just lighten it up with Wraithbone. I need to go and buy more Bugman's Glow. I think I am running out. So let's get a tiny little bit on the palette. And give the Wraithbone a shake. Tiny little bit on the palette. And let's start drawing these two together. Right, so Alice has her fringe comes down quite a lot over her eyes, actually. So she'll get painted, and essentially what I'm going to do is leave the darker tonal areas for the depth of the shadows. So just there, sort of thing. Just highlight the fingers. Okay, so that's the first layer. Add in more wraithbone to lighten it up a bit further. We'll just use this right on the highest points of her arms here, and just kind of there on her legs. Like that, and the top of her hand. Just highlight the fingers again. And then right at the tip of her ear, on that side, and that side. And got a bit there. Cheekbones, bridge of her nose, just the chin. Okay, so that is where we are at the moment. Just a tiny little touch up there. Okay, cool. And I think like that. So that is her facial tones done for now. So my recipe for bases is Mornfang Brown. So I could do with another coat. So Mornfang Brown as the base layer. And then a successive highlight dry brush of Sandry Dust, and followed by Wraithbone is what I normally do for my soil. If I'm doing sand, then I start off with Sandry Dust and go with Wraithbone straight off the bat. So just like so. let's have a look at our knight here. So he is going to get non-oil. Straight out the pot, not messing about. Cool. Right. Have we got everywhere? A little bit more under the armpits. I want to try and get more into his vision slit. And around the back of the legs. Right, there you go. That should do for now. He's going to take a while to dry. Let's have a look at this guy. Has he got boots on or has he got tights and anklets? Don't know, but I'm going to paint his walking stick brown. Should do. And the haft of his warhammer as well. Bingo. Okay, cool. Okay. What I want to do is just come in and redo this earth. As I say, I think I made a mistake in gluing this guy's feet to the base. I think what I should have done was painted him off the base because I don't know if you can see, but Archon Studios do give you some quite intricate bases. They give you loads of bases in their sets, like so many that you don't actually use them all. So you get plenty left over. Or at least that's been my experience with the two like townsfolk sets that I've bought and the NPC characters. It's just so many left over, which has been great because when I've printed resin miniatures that don't resin D&D miniatures that don't have a base, they have had, you know, I've had plenty left over to glue. So in that respect, fantastic. Right then, said Fred. Xandri Dust. Have I got any on the table? Yes, I have. Yeah. Is that dry? That's dry. What's that on? Base. Let's use this one. Okay, and a tiny little bit of Wraithbone. Like so. And then what I need to do is look at just coming in on her hair. So here we go. Do you know what? She's done. She's an NPC. She doesn't need to be that intricate. She's done. Pop her off her base, or pop her off the painting handle, and paint the rim. As it were. So. That's the rim done, and let's have a look and see what grass tufts we've got, shall we? If you're wondering how many bases you get left over from Archon Studios, these are all the bases that I haven't used from the Archon Studio packs. Right, we've got some small tufts, so I think we'll use some small because she's quite delicate, as it were. Yeah, we'll go for two-tone. We'll go for two-tone, and then I think, because what are we at? We're nearly 10 minutes over, because I only planned to do this for an hour. Okay, I think we'll leave her like that. So that'll be Alice for the D&D campaign that I'm on, the captain of the boat that we have chartered. And I think I'll call it there on the live stream. Thank you for those that joined, and I hope you have a good rest of the evening. And I will hopefully see you in the next video, or if not, next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.